All right. Okay, we're going to go over math workshop first. Look at day 4. I've already gone through and worked this out for you. Double check yours to make sure. It cannot be C or D. Do you notice how your x-axis are labeled height instead of the number of magazines? And if we look at our chart, the x-axis should be the number of magazines. So A and B were our only choices. If you look at this one visually just right off, can this be a ratio? No, why not?
It doesn't have a straight line.
Exactly. It doesn't have that straight line that we see when we're graphing a ratio. So this one cannot be an option. So your only option would be A. And if you check, all the points are labeled correctly. Okay? All right. Put that away. Grab your homework. Let's go over that from yesterday. Let's start on the side that says fractions as decimals and percents. Again, when we're changing a fraction to a percent, we need to divide, move our decimal 2 places to the right. I'm going to give you a second to look at these. When we already have our decimal, we just move it 2 places to the right. Even if you still have a decimal in your percentage, that is okay. Like number 5 where you have 62.2% and number 6 where you have 30.3%. Okay, real quickly, do we have any questions about these first ones, 1 through 8? Anytime you have a whole number in front of your decimal, your percentage will be greater than 100%. This one had 2, so it's greater than 200%. Okay, the next section, if you just did the percentage, that's fine too. So 95%, 56.25%, 40%, and 22%. Some of you were saying, how do I write this again as a fraction? Don't forget, when we have a decimal and we're changing it to a fraction, you just write what you say. So 4/10 is literally 4/10. 22 hundredths is 22 hundredths. And you could simplify, yes. Okay, let's look at the word problems at the bottom. All right, number 13, according to the U.S. Census Bureau, 3/25 of all adults in the United States visited a zoo in 2007. What percent of all adults in the United States visited a zoo? So we would do 3 divided by 25, which would give us 12%. Number 14 was a little tricky because it says, given that 17/20 of the marbles are red, what percent are blue? So you're looking for the opposite. So 85% would be red. So out of that 100% total, 15% would be blue. Okay? All right, look on the back real quick. Percent of a number. Now, one thing I noticed yesterday, we were trying to put a percent sign after these numbers. These are not percentages. Your percentage is right here. 235 represents 10% of 2,350. These are just numbers. They're a portion of that larger number. It is what represents that percentage, but they are not a percentage themselves. Okay? So you should have 330, 241, 235, 32, 48, and 5. Looking at number 9, again, if you have more than 100%, your number will be larger than where you start. Had a couple of decimals here, 0.06, 6.6, and 6.3. Okay, let's talk about the word problems at the bottom. These were the 2 that seemed to give us the most difficulty. There are a lot of numbers in here that you don't need. And guys, that's the first thing. When you're reading a word problem, go through and decide what you need and what you don't. It says the recommended daily amount of vitamin C for children 9 to 13 years old is 45 milligrams. Do I need that 9 to 13? No. There's 2 numbers many of you were trying to put into your word problem. If I took that out, it still works. A serving of juice drink contains 60% of the recommended amount. How much vitamin C does the juice drink contain? So what we're looking for is 60% of 45, which would be 27 milligrams. Okay? Let's look at number 14. During a 60-minute television program, 25% of the time is used for commercials and 5% of the time is used for opening credits and closing credits. How many minutes remain? Here's your key word right there. So, if 25% is commercials and 5% is opening and closing credits, what percentage is taken up? 30. Okay? So out of that 100%, what percentage is left? 70. So what remains is 70%. So what you're looking for is 70% of 60 minutes, which would be 42 minutes. So again, it's like that one on the other side. You're looking for what's left. Okay? All right. Now pause this for just a second. Anybody have any questions about homework? Okay, so now let's look at the sheet that says notes, review of percents. Okay, so again, a percent shows a part of something. Okay, fractions show a part of something. Ratios show a comparison of two different parts. So when we look at this first one, how many of these squares are shaded in?
24.
24. Okay? How many are not shaded in?
100.
There's a total of 100 squares. 76. So if we were to write a percent and a ratio to represent shaded to unshaded, what numbers would that be? You got it. 24 to 76. What if I were going to write shaded to total? 24 to 100. Absolutely. Okay? A percent is another way to write a ratio compared to the total. Okay? So if I had shaded to total, and like Mackenzie just said, that is 24 to 100, what percentage out of 100 is shaded? 24%. So your ratio of 24 out of 100 is the same as 24%. So really, we could say a percentage is a ratio out of 100. It's a fraction out of 100. All right, look at the next one. This drawing, this is another way to model your answer. Okay, this is a 100 grid. It's a 10 by 10. So if you were going to model the percent, how many squares would we shade in? 36. So we've got 10, 20, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have 36 squares shaded in. Okay, so that's 36%. If I were going to write that as shaded to total, what ratio would it be? 36 to 100. Very good. What about shaded to unshaded? 64. Excellent. And then what if I said what percentage is unshaded? 64. Absolutely. So again, this is your visual representation of what we've been doing with ratios and now percentages. Okay? How would I write this percentage that we just talked about up here as a fraction? What does percent mean? This word percent. Perfect. Out of 100. Remember, cent, like century, centennial, a cent out of a dollar, it all means 100. So percent means out of 100. It does. I'm going to slide this up just a little bit, guys. Okay, so how would I write 18% as a fraction? You got it. 18 over 100. It would be 9 over 50 if we simplified, yes. Okay, how would you write 314%? Is it over 1,000? Over 100. Again, percent means out of 100. And if it's 314%, we know it's more than one whole. So as a mixed number, it would be what? You got it. Which would be, yep, 3 and 7 over 50. Now, this is where it gets a little tricky when you have a decimal, okay? It's easy when we have whole numbers to put over 100, but when I have a decimal, I'm going to go ahead and change this to an actual decimal. Take my percent sign away. So I'm going to move it 2 places to the left. I have to add a 0. That now gives me 8 thousandths. So how would I write 8 thousandths as a fraction? 8 over 1,000.
1 over 50.
Did you? Okay, 1 over 125. All right, and the reason, guys, that it's not over 100 is because it's not even 1%. It's not even 1 out of 100. It's much less than that. So you have to go ahead and look at it as a decimal and write it 8 over 1,000. Okay? Again, how do we change our percent to a decimal? We just did one right here. You guys are awesome. Okay, we move it 2 places to the left. 54% as a decimal would be 0.54, which if you think about this, this makes sense because this now becomes 54 hundredths, which we said earlier, 54 over 100 is 54%. And don't forget, your decimal is always at the end of your whole number. Even if it's not there, it's always at the end. So what would 210% be as a decimal? You got it. You could put the 0, you could leave it off if you want to. And 3.8%, we move it 2 places. Yeah, 0.038, which would be 38 thousandths, which is similar to what we had to do up here. So again, when you write your percent as a decimal, we're moving to the left 2 places. All right, any questions so far? Okay, you guys are awesome.